G'day everyone, Kate from the Narrate team here. This weekend, Caleb brings us a message about the roller coaster of life. He shares with us in a creative way through words and music the story of Elijah, journeying through his reliance on God in the midst of human experience.
Hi friends, how are we? Good, I hope so, good. It's great to see all of you guys this morning. This morning, I kind of want to jump right into the deep end of the pool, so we're just going to go there. In fact, this morning, what I'd like to do is really go on this journey through a story that I think really captures life for all of us, no matter who you are, where you're at in life. Over the last couple of months, one of the constant thoughts I've had is, isn't it amazing how you and I can go from one extreme in life to the other? How you and I can go from being okay to not okay in life? How we can have all these different thoughts and emotions and feelings in life? How we can have these feelings of hope and excitement, even happiness and joy about the future. Maybe you just got a new job, or maybe you just got a raise, a promotion. Maybe you just got married or just had your first child, and that's really exciting. Or maybe it's your last child finally left the house, and now it's like freedom, right? Empty nesters. Now you can have your own money. That's a good feeling. Maybe for you, you just got into a new relationship, and you're all Twitter-pated about that. Maybe you just got accepted into the college that you've been hoping for, just paid off a large amount of debt. Whatever that is for you, life is going relatively great. You're at an okay spot in your life. To the next day, the bottom kind of falls out on you. The blunt force of life crashes in on you, and you get the phone call that she wants to break it off, that she no longer wants to be in the relationship, that he's found someone else, and he's not coming back, and the relationship, the marriage that you had, it's over. Maybe you get the phone call that you're infertile, that the child, the family you desperately want isn't there. The market crashes, and the financial stability you once had is out the window. The cancer is back, and it's stronger than ever. Someone you care about, someone you love, passes away. And the emotions of joy and happiness and excitement and hope now are replaced with these feelings of pain and hurt and sadness and anxiety and worry and even hopelessness in life. From one extreme in life to the other. From being okay to not okay in life. And I don't know about you, but like that tension resonates within me. See, to be human is to experience different thoughts and emotions and feelings in life. And some of you are here this morning, and like life is going relatively great for you. I mean, you're at an okay spot, and you're glad that you have the job that you have, and the relationship, the marriage. Like life is going okay. And then there's others, though, of you where, like, you're at the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, you're at the end of your rope. You're barely holding on. And for those of you where life is going okay, a majority of your feelings are joy and happiness and hope. This morning, what I want to explore with you is this reality that you and I are only a phone call, a text message, an email, a conversation away from experiencing the complete opposite, from going okay to not okay in life. And for those of you where like you're barely holding on in life, you're full of pain and hurt, and you think to yourself like, I can never hope again in life. Too many bad things have happened to me. I've made too many mistakes. What I'd like to explore with you is, what if that isn't true? What if that's a lie? What if you and I can hope again? What if we can be okay? And see, what's comforting for me, and I hope what's comforting for you, is that you're not the only one that experiences this tension. That you're not the only one that goes from okay to not okay, but because the people next to you, the people in front of you, behind you, are people who have a story. And just like you have a story, they experience that same tension in life, even though we don't talk about it all the time. In fact, that this isn't just a 21st century problem, that when we look at the Bible, the oldest document that we have, you read about people that experience the same tension, the same struggle in life. And maybe for you, you kind of dismiss the Bible. Like, you're like, I don't know if it's true. I don't really believe it to be sacred, which I do believe it to be true and sacred. But even if you don't, what I think so great about the text, the Bible, is you can still relate to people who live thousands and thousands thousands of years ago. But because to be human thousands and thousands of years ago, what was to experience joy and happiness and hope and pain and anxiety and hurt and loneliness and hopelessness. The same kinds of feelings that you and I experience today. And that like, I love the Bible because when you open it up, like, you can see real people, people that have that tension in life. And that I think when you open up the pages of the text and you read about those people, like, you and I can gain some insight, some wisdom on how to live life with what they've experienced in life. And I think live the life that God desires you and I to live. And so this morning is a little bit different because what I'd like to do is wrestle with that tension of going from one extreme in life to the other, from going okay to not okay, by telling a story, both through spoken word and also through music with Kate. Now, as we go through this story together, I really want to put ourselves inside of the story. I want us to imagine ourselves in that story, both in the story and then also kind of relate it to the music that Kate's going to be playing, because I think music is such an expression of what we feel inside of our soul. I don't know about you, but when I listen to music, like, it's an expression of how I'm feeling. Whether it's happy or sad songs, like, that's the kind of music that I'm listening to. And so this morning we're just going to journey through the story with music and put ourselves inside of the story. So the story takes place thousands and thousands of years ago, and the nation of Israel, we find it in the book of 1 Kings. And the main character is a guy named Elijah, accompanied by a queen named Jezebel and a king named Ahab. And there was two gods. There was the God of Ahab, and then there was the God of Elijah. The God of Elijah called him Lord, and the God of Ahab, he called Baal. And Ahab desperately wanted the people of Israel to follow his God Baal. Well, Elijah desperately wanted the people of Israel to follow his God Lord. Eventually, Ahab won the people of Israel over to follow his God, and they started worshiping this God of Baal. So one day, Elijah has this meeting with Ahab. And he tells Ahab that his God, Lord, was going to make it stop raining. And that it wasn't going to rain until Elijah said otherwise. And you have to imagine yourself in this story, in this meeting, because here you have two people with completely different viewpoints and philosophies on life. And two completely opposite kinds of gods. And Elijah thinks that Ahab is crazy, and Ahab thinks that Elijah is crazy. And so Ahab just kind of dismisses Elijah. He's like, yeah, get out of here. You and your God, Lord, can't make it stop raining. Like, that's crazy talk. And so Elijah, he goes on his way, and days pass by, weeks pass by, months, years, and it doesn't rain. And a famine comes on the nation of Israel, and crops don't grow. Animals begin to die. There's starvation. The economy collapses. And Elijah becomes a hated man in the nation of Israel because he's the one who's connected to it not raining. In fact, Ahab puts a bounty on Elijah's head. Elijah becomes a fugitive and has to hide for his life. And years pass by. Until one day, the God of Elijah, Lord, came to Elijah and said, hey, Elijah, it's time to have a meeting with Ahab. And so Ahab sets up this meeting with Elijah, and they get together. And in chapter 18, 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 17 is where we pick up the story. Ahab says this, is that you troubler of Israel? To which Elijah responds, I haven't made trouble for Israel. But you and your father's family have abandoned the Lord's commands and have followed the Baals. In other words, Elijah's like, okay, Ahab, I know you're ticked off at me. I know you're irritated. I know you're mad at me because you think I'm the one who made it stop raining, which is partially true. My God, Lord, did. But the bigger picture is the reason it's not raining is because you and the people of Israel have started following this God of Baal, and Baal isn't God. And so that's the reason it's not raining. So Ahab, I know you're mad, so I have this idea. summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel and bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. And let's settle this thing of whose God is actually God. And so Ahab's like, okay, deal. So he gathers all of his people and they meet on Mount Carmel. And once they're up there, Elijah says this: get 2 bulls for us. Let Baal's prophets choose one for themselves and let them cut it into pieces and put it on the wood, but not set fire to it. I will prepare the other bull and put it on the wood, but not set fire to it. Then you call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers by fire, he is God. Then all the people said, what you say is good. And now you have to imagine yourself being on that mountain that day. But because on one side you have hundreds and hundreds of people representing this one God named Baal. And then on the other side you have one man named Elijah representing his God. Lord, can you imagine the tension, the contrast, the opposition that everyone must have felt on that day? Can you imagine just how much gumption, how much courage, how much faith Elijah must have had and his God, Lord, to do such a thing? I mean, absolutely incredible. And so the prophets of Baal, they go first and they prepare their altar for Baal and they get the wood set just right. I don't know if they did the teepee or the log cabin. Who knows what they did, but they get it set just right. And they begin to pray to their God, Baal. Baal, send fire. Baal, send fire. Nothing happens. So they begin to pray harder and faster and longer, and nothing happens. Time passes, nothing happens. And so Elijah begins to taunt them because Elijah wants the people of Israel to know just how absurd it is that they're following this God named Baal. So he begins to say things like, maybe your God's on vacation, maybe he's sleeping, maybe he's hard of hearing. And so they take him seriously. And so they begin to shout to their God, Baal, Baal, Baal. They begin to dance around their altar trying to get the attention of their God, Baal, and nothing happens. Time passes. So Elijah, he lays it on even thicker. In fact, the Living Bible translation, which there's good reason to believe that this is the closest translation in Hebrew, Elijah tells the prophets of Baal that maybe their God is relieving himself. Maybe he's on the toilet. And the prophets of Baal, they take him seriously, and so they begin to cut themselves and slash themselves and bleed all out, trying to get the attention of their God, and nothing happens. So finally, Elijah, he's like, enough. And the craziness. It's time, it's my turn. And so he prepares the Lord's altar, and he pours water on it because he wants to make sure that the people of Israel don't think that he's some magician, that he has some trick up his sleeve. And he prays to his God, Lord. Complete opposite kind of prayer than the people of the prophets of Baal. He calmly prays and says this: answer me, Lord. Answer me so these people will know that you, Lord, are God and that you are turning their hearts back again. And God sees and God listens and God cares. And fire fell down from the sky and consumed the whole altar. Can you imagine being a bystander on that mountain that day, watching that happen? Can you just place yourself in that? Can you imagine watching the prophets of Baal do crazy stuff and nothing happens, and then the God of Elijah sends fire down? Can you imagine just how much adrenaline must be pumping through your blood in that moment? To watch such a miraculous thing happen. And it says that this was a turning point for the people of Israel. And they began to believe in the God of Elijah. And they began to see that the God of Baal, how absurd it was. And they began to see how great the God of Elijah was. And Elijah began to say, like, my God is great. Like, he is the great one. And they began to believe how great thou art. How great thou art.
My Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
The people, they're celebrating, they're dancing with everything that just happened. They're believing in God, but it doesn't stop there. It gets even better, because then Elijah goes to Ahab and he tells Ahab that his God Lord was going to send rain, and so Elijah prays to his God, and as he's praying, clouds begin to roll in, and the clouds begin to darken, and can you imagine being a bystander there? Because it's been years since it's rained, and it's been years since you've seen the dark sky. Can you imagine the anticipation that must have felt? And can you imagine, and it rains, and can you imagine feeling that first raindrop and the hope that would have brought? That this was a huge turning point for the nation of Israel. So can you imagine what Elijah must have felt in that moment after fire falling down from the sky and rain? Can you imagine just how alive Elijah must have felt, how connected to God he must have felt? I mean, not many people have seen the power of God like Elijah has. And this is what makes the next part of Elijah's story, the next part of his life, so fascinating, and I think so relatable to me and to you, because this is what happens next. Now Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. And so Ahab goes back home to Jezreel, and he goes and sees his wife, and he's like, Jezebel, you can't believe what happened. You know, Elijah, the guy that we hate. Yeah, that guy. He prayed and fire came down. And then he prayed and rain come down. Like, our God Baal isn't actually God, but the God of Elijah is. And Jezebel does not like hearing this. In fact, this is what Jezebel does. She sent a messenger to Elijah to say, may the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that one of them. The one of them are the prophets of Baal. See, after God sent fire down from the sky, all the people of Israel saw that they were false prophets. And so the prophets of Baal were killed on that mountain. And so Jezebel says, just like the prophets of Baal were killed, Elijah, you too are a dead man. You're going to die. And it says that Elijah heard this, and Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. Elijah, who moments ago was so courageous and so bold, now runs on the single threat of a queen. Elijah, who felt so connected to God, is now full of fear and anxiety and worry, but because of one woman. Which I think the moral of the story is that you ladies are scary. I think that's what that means. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. But see, just kind of kidding. Not totally. But some Old Testament scholars would suggest, though, that this actually didn't happen in this part of Elijah's story. That this happened somewhere else, because it's too extreme. From being connected to now and being so bold to all of a sudden running full of fear. But I don't think so, because isn't that exactly like how life works for me and for you? We get a text message, an email, a phone call, a conversation happens, and we go from being okay to not okay in life. We go from one extreme in life to the other. And that nobody stays on top of the mountain forever. Nobody, not even Elijah, a great man of God. Because see, to be human is to experience different thoughts and emotions and feelings in life. And sometimes it's after a record-setting run of achievement, even spiritual victory, that you and I are most vulnerable to fear and anxiety and worry and pain and hurt. And so it was with Elijah. But because as high as Elijah was in chapter 18, that's just how low he's going to get in chapter 19. The story continues on. It says that he ran for his life for a day. And he came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord. He said, take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. Then he lay down again under the bush and fell asleep. Elijah wants to die. He tells God that he's given up on life, that he's done. He's over it. Life is too overwhelming for him. He can't take another thing. He's drained, tired, and exhausted. Elijah, who moments ago was so alive and so connected to God. Elijah, who predicted a drought. Elijah, who prayed and fire came down. Elijah, who prayed and rain came down. Now tells God that he wants to die, that he's given up. Elijah lets worry and anxiety and pain and loneliness consume him. And he begins to lose hope. And nothing kills a human soul quicker than no hope, because we were designed to hope. And if we can be sincere and honest this morning, I want to be with you guys. Some of you are where Elijah is at. So some of you are kind of in a hopeless state. And some of you go home at night and you're full of pain and loneliness. And you think to yourself, I can't take anymore. And nothing else can happen because I'm to my limit. Maybe it was because of relationship, a marriage. Maybe because you lost your job, financial stuff. Maybe it's because of your childhood. Some sexual stuff, some abuse stuff that should have never happened, but it haunts you today. And you're just overwhelmed in life. And you, if we can be real, you pray and think to God, like, God, just end my life. I'm going to fall asleep and I don't want to wake up tomorrow. Just like Elijah did. So some of you, you don't even believe in God and you don't know who or what you're praying to, but you're thinking, just end this. I can't take this anymore. This is too much for me to handle. Thankfully, God loves you and me, and he loved Elijah too much to give Elijah what he wanted. Instead, this happens. All at once, an angel touched him and said, get up and eat. He looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank and then lay down again. I love the imagery of this because God treats Elijah like you treat a cranky 2-year-old. Here's a Twinkie. Here's a juice box. Now go take a nap, Elijah. Like you're in a bad spot. What you need some rest. But I love this because the angel doesn't criticize Elijah. The angel comforts Elijah. The angel wants Elijah to know that it's okay not to be okay. The angel doesn't tell Elijah, how dare you not to want to live anymore. Elijah, don't you remember with all the things that God just did? I can't believe you. Get out of here, Elijah. Instead, the angel comforts Elijah because see, God understands to be human is to experience different thoughts and emotions and feelings and life. And God wants to comfort Elijah. God wants to comfort you and me in that low spot. God wants Elijah to know that it is well with his soul, that it is well with my soul, that it is well with your soul.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, He has taught me to say, and it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul.
So Elijah, he's in a low spot. And I don't know about you, but when I'm in a low spot, it's not really a thinking spot, is it? It's more of a feeling place, because all I feel is that I'm in pain and I'm hurting. And that was the same with Elijah. He was in a feeling place, and God met Elijah in that feeling place. He didn't tell Elijah to snap out of it. He didn't tell Elijah to get his big boy's pants on. I love it because God didn't even spiritualize what Elijah was feeling. He didn't try to give Elijah answers, but he simply comforted Elijah in that feeling place. And he gave Elijah hope in the moment. And without sounding oversimplistic, sometimes what you and I need is, like, we need 12 hours of sleep and a good meal. Just like Elijah needed in that moment. But I don't know about you, but when I'm in my low spot, that's not what I want. I want to know from God all the answers. I want to know that the problem I'm facing, that'll go away, that the pain that I have, that'll end, that if I'll ever get married, if I'll ever have children, what kind of a family I'll have. I want to know where I'll be at 5, 10, 30 years from now. I want answers. But that's not how God works, is it? In fact, I love what Jesus says in the New Testament. He says, don't worry about tomorrow. Don't let anxiety take you over today about tomorrow. And Jesus doesn't say be irresponsible, but I think what he's suggesting is you focus on today and what you know you should do today and what God wants you to do today. And the God that listens and sees and cares about you today is the God that will listen and see and care about you tomorrow. Just have hope in today. Do what you know you should today. And so Elijah musters up enough hope to live in the moment, not to take his life. And he gets enough strength after some sleep, and he continues on his journey. And he travels to Beersheba, and then he travels another 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Horeb. And there he went into a cave and spent the night. And the word of the Lord came to him, What are you doing here, Elijah? Why are you here, Elijah? And the reason God asked this is because, see, Elijah started in Jezreel, and then he went to Beersheba, which is the southern point of Israel. And then from there, he went into the desert, into Mount Horeb, which is out of the nation of Israel. Elijah was running away from Israel. He was running away from God. Metaphorically speaking, he was running away from what God wanted him to do, which was to tell the people of Israel about God. And so when God asked Elijah what he was doing there, I love this because Elijah just vomits out to God, like no censor. He just tells God what he's feeling. And he tells God about how he's full of fear and anxiety with being killed, that he's overwhelmed with life. He tells God how he's depressed and how he has suicidal thoughts. He tells God how he feels like a failure, that he can't believe he ran from Israel, how God could probably never use him again because he's messed up too much. He's made too many mistakes. Just vomits it all out to God, and God listens, and God sees, and God cares about Elijah. And God says this to Elijah. He says, "Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." And then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there came an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Well, once again, God asks him, like, "Elijah, what are you doing here?" And so once again, Elijah just vomits out what he's feeling. And God listens, and God sees, and God cared. And Elijah and God have this interaction together. And God tells Elijah that he's not all alone, that he's not the only one out there that has all these different thoughts and feelings and emotions in life. That Elijah isn't the only one that believes in God, that there's other people out there who believe in God also. And then he tells Elijah that he reminded him that there was a purpose, that there's meaning to his life. And he tells Elijah, like, Elijah, you're not here just to be here. That there's meaning to your life. And he reminds Elijah that Elijah needs to hope, that he needs to hope in the moment, even in the circumstance that he's in. And then from there, God tells Elijah that to go back down the mountain, and he tells Elijah to appoint a new king and new leaders over the nation of Israel. He tells Elijah that he's going to meet a guy named Elisha who will help him out a great deal. And so Elijah gets enough strength and hope and goes back down the mountain and appoints a new king and new leaders over the nation of Israel, finds a friend named Elisha. And you read about the rest of his life, and he does some pretty incredible things with God. It's not that he was perfect. It's not that he didn't experience those feelings again, but he remained to live a life with enough hope in the moment. And that's a little glimpse into the life of Elijah. And I don't know about you, but when I read that story, when I put myself inside of that story, like, I can relate to him. I can relate to going from one extreme in life to the other. I can relate to being okay to not okay, from feeling pain and hurt and anxiety and worry and loneliness. And when I look at the story of Elijah, I think there are some things that you and I can learn that can help guide us in life. And the first is that we are not exempt from going okay to not okay in life. That even Elijah, a great man of God, went from one extreme in life to the other. That he went from okay to not okay, that no matter how connected or how in sync you and I are, that does not leave you and me exempt. I was just reminded about that this week. First part of this week, me and the staff were gone at a conference, and Wednesday morning I got a text message from a friend. And not just any friend, but a very, very dear friend, a friend that has impacted my life hugely. He'll never know how much. A friend that has been there through the good stuff, the bad stuff. A friend who I go to with my garbage in life. And it said, hey, Caleb, I got a new job, and in a month or so I'll be leaving Helena. And I instantly went from okay to not okay in life. I all of a sudden had these feelings of sadness and hurt and even loneliness. Feeling like, well, what am I going to do now? Who am I going to go to now? Like, he's my go-to person. Like, what's going to happen? And was reminded that to be human is to experience different thoughts and emotions and feelings in life. The second one is that we are designed to hope that the moment Elijah let anxiety and worry and pain and hurt consume him, he began to lose hope. And nothing kills a human soul quicker than no hope. That we must hope. And then third, though, that even in the midst of our hopelessness, God listens, God sees, and God cares about you. That no matter how low of a spot you're in, what you've done, what you haven't done, that God's not looking for you to be perfect. God's not looking for you to be okay. He's looking just to listen and see and care about you. And then fourth, we must face tomorrow with confidence. That we mustn't let tomorrow's anxiety and worry consume us today, because the God that listens and sees and cares about you and I today is the God that will listen and see and care about us tomorrow. And then lastly, we were created for a purpose. That you and I, we have stuff to do. We have meaning in life, that God has something for each of us to do in our workplace and our relationships, our friendships, and our community. We've got work to do together as individuals, as a community of people. So I don't know where this lands for you this morning. Some of you, you're at an okay spot in life. Life's going relatively great for you, and so may you and I be reminded that we're not exempt from having all these different feelings in life. And even if we are okay, there are people in our life that are hurting, that aren't okay. And so may we, as individuals, as groups of people, may we comfort them. May we show them compassion. And may we let them know that it is well with their soul. And then there's those of you who are tired and exhausted in life. And you're at, quite frankly, you're at the rope's end. You're full of pain and loneliness. Just as Elijah was, you're hopeless. And may you know that the God that listened and saw and cared about Elijah is the God that listens and sees and cares about you. And that you are the only person that has given up on you, that God has not given up on you. And so may you and I hope as individuals and together. And then there's some of you who you're skeptical of God and Jesus and church, and you're like, I have too many questions. I've made too many mistakes. God's not looking for you to have it all figured out. God's not looking for you to become a better person. He's just looking for you to follow and trust him today, and that you would know that when you do that, it's not that all the messy and rough stuff will go away. It's just that God will follow and journey through with us.
If you would like to engage further with Narrate Church, you can find contact information online, www.narratechurch.org. We would love to hear from you.